Hello and welcome again to River Valley Farm on this lovely wet afternoon, Monday. I don't even know what day it is now. It's definitely Monday though, September the 20th. So that being said, here we are in the garage. Back the truck in here to keep that clutch from getting wet, but anyway, that's another story altogether. So yeah, we're back to this thing. We got yeah, we're gonna take it apart and see what's going on with it, or as much as we possibly can. Anyway, we're gonna take this apart so we can see what's going on with it. I know I tightened up the yeah, these adjustments for the slop in the steering box already, but we still got a leak on the bottom of the steering shaft down under there, which means we pretty much need to remove this whole mess from the tractor so we can get to it, right? So yeah, that's what we're gonna do today. See what all is involved in that fun ordeal. It looks rather like you have to separate this while it's still on the tractor and break it down into its components. So this will have to come off, and might as well take this piece off, that piece off. We've got to drop the steering link rods, tie rods, whatever you want to call them, drop them off, and then yeah, in order to get down to what we need, we've got to split the case right here so we can access what we need to do. I think, I could be wrong, but I think that's what we need to do. It might be easier. A lot of mights and ifs and whatnot, but anyway, I think it'll be easier to split it down into its components with it still on the tractor and then take it apart the rest of the way. I think I say that a lot, but I think that is right. So that's the plan, which actually, yeah, anyway, I'm gonna start taking stuff off. When I get to it, at an interesting point, I'll stop and show you. Okay, so we've been into this part before, and this is just the input to the orbital valve or steering hand pump, whatever you want to call this piece right here, which directs oil. You know, you have a supply line, a case drain, and then a return, so that way you can direct oil to the motor. This is what I take to be the steering motor right here, and anyway, that does something in there to make this turn easier than it would if it was just regular old Armstrong steering. But this piece does not want to come out like I thought it would, so I guess next up would be to go and try and pull this motor off, which is four bolts, relatively easy to get to. I need to go ahead and take that battery off too, just for good measure, so I don't have to fight with it while I'm doing this. But anyway, really not an issue. So yeah, let me take the battery off and we'll take this piece off and see if we can figure anything out. All right, so it's time to call it quits on trying to disassemble it on the tractor. Nothing seems to want to come off. Everything seems to hinge on being able to okay, so this is not a motor, it's a cylinder. So it's literally just an assist cylinder moving this back and forth. This has got to go into this has got to be a pinion of some sort set into a ring gear or worm gear, something that's actually turning this stuff. and then that cylinder is just there as an assist. So we're going to go ahead and drop the steering links off of both sides and go from there. There's only, my concern with it is this bolt right here. Okay, it doesn't even pass through this piece. It stops before it ever gets into there, so it's not even threaded into this or anything. I don't know if that's right or not, but that's the way it is. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and strip these off, and I think there's just 4 bolts. Might have to take the starter off too, but it's just 4 bolts, like 3/8 bolts, that are actually holding this whole thing to the tractor. So that's what we're gonna do. That wasn't what I had envisioned, but it's what we're gonna do. It'll work. So yeah, let's do it. So I'm beginning to think that this is like an unserviceable blob right here in the middle of my tractor. It wiggles, but why? Oh, you know what? They hit a bolt right here. Of all places, they could have hit a bolt right there. Okay, now I'll take that bolt out. It should come off. If it don't come off, I'm not going to know why, and I'm probably going to get angry, but it'll be all right, because it'll just be my stuff I'm tearing up. Okay, so the silly thing is off of there finally. While I'm this far, I'm going to go ahead and take this off, because I don't need that piece anymore. We're not going to have a loader, I don't think. As much as I would like to, we're not going to have one. Anyway, we got the steering box over here, and well, let's see, we're missing a nut there, and it's a fine threaded 1/2 inch, which I probably don't have. Anyway, now that we've got it off of here, you can see there's another plate right there that we'd have to take off more than likely to get the cylinder undone, so we could take it out. And then of course you got to go, well, we still don't even know for sure where it was leaking from. I think it was on this plug down here somewhere, this creature right there. So anyway, I've still got a lot of cleaning to do, but I'm hoping, I was kind of hopeful anyway, that it would be this, since it's missing a nut, but obviously not it, because it is still awfully dirty right there. No clean spot. This is the cleanest area on the thing, is this plug. That may not be good, but anyway, clean it up, see if we can see anything obvious. Okay, so took this, what did I do with it? Took this cover off of the cylinder, which is right here. Okay, then I have this pin right here, trying to figure out how to get it to come out, and I don't think it does really, but anyway, I have this wear block that has obviously been whacked by said pin. But anyway, that's beside the point. There was shim gaskets and stuff in here, but you know, that's just to keep this in good contact with the, or well, with this, and then with this steering shaft right here, rock shaft, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, basically the next thing I'm going to be able to do is just take these bolts out and see if I can separate the case, and then see if we can get in here and figure out what this is all about. But there's going to be a gear and a gear and then a gear. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And then if we need to, we can then probably separate the cylinder, or try and do something with this pin right here to keep it from falling out again, because it definitely bears the marks of having been falling out at some point in time. So might as well deal with it now instead of waiting for later. All right, so we found the bottom of this thing finally. We have this nifty contraption and this nifty contraption that acts on that nifty contraption over there that makes this thing steer. So should really count these turns. That way I can put it in the center, right? Of course, you know, it might help if I knew what was... anyway. Try and line up something here, so... Yeah, well, yay. Now I done thrown it out of there completely. But anyway. So, in order to get this out, you got to pull this piece out. Which hopefully isn't a huge ordeal. But anyway, that should honestly clear it. So we don't have to fight with it too much. And then we should be able to pull this up out of here. Steering shaft itself up out of here. Now, of course, the key to it is we got to put this all back together in time. Or who knows what'll happen. He'll probably steer one way more than the other, and so on and so forth. That would be the easy thing about it. So slide that dude out of there. Okay. So there is that. Not a huge amount of wear on it or anything. The whole mess runs in oil, or it would appear to. So that's good. I don't know where you would add oil to it, or if you do, or anything else. I guess obviously probably that plug right there. That would be the obvious thing. Now, whether or not that's the right thing, I don't know, but that's the obvious thing. So next up, this hole we have a bushing, that hole we have a very similar bushing, and a bunch of crud. So yeah, let's see here. Slap that in there. And again, we have very thin gaskets to kind of sandwich everything together with. So more shim gaskets. So basically that's got to be a freeze plug of some sort. That's pretty much all it could be, is just a freeze plug. So I guess I need to quit belly aching around, knock that out of there, and see what happens. Alright, so here is the knockout, for lack of any better terminology. That's what it is. It's a knockout piece. And it wasn't in there quite square, and it isn't in there quite right. And as you can see, that's awfully wet right in through here. So we're going to go with, this was the leak. If we have to repeat this process, well, probably not going to be very happy, but at the same time, I guess won't make that much difference, because it's just time, right? So far, we won't have to buy any parts. We can just get this thing cleaned off, and I'm going to try and drive it in with this facing in, with this side in, because that's the side it was in, so why shouldn't we try and drive it in that way? Anyway, nifty can brake clean here. Flush that dude out real good. I don't know what kind of oil should actually be in this thing, but I guess it would just be hydraulic. That's about the only thing it could be, is just hydraulic oil. So anyway, get this dude cleaned up real good, and that thing cleaned up real good, and then we'll drive it back together, put it back together, and see what happens then. About the best thing I can do, right? Alright, so we took this big hunk of bar here. It was just a hair bit smaller than this plug, and we drove it in there nice and straight and square, which it was not before. So that's got to be a big help, right? At least not as we're going to say it was. Can't hurt anything. So yeah, we're kind of winding, well, I wouldn't say we're winding down on this project at all, but anyway, we're kind of winding what we need here, I guess. I need to find 1/2 inch fine threaded nuts. I don't think I have any here, but they shouldn't be that hard to come by. I need thin nuts though, because this one is not a standard thickness nut, and it's got a thick washer. And then I need another one for one of these. A thin nut for one of the adjuster bolts. So anyway, guess pretty much I'm just putting this back together. Really what else to say about it other than we're going to smear a bunch of silicone on all these old gaskets and slap it together and see what happens. Hopefully, well, no hopefully to it, that's going to seal it up and that'll make it work. And then it'll be on to the next problem, which is engine oil consumption. And is it losing it? Yeah, where's it going, basically? Because it's not really leaving that many puddles on the ground, and I don't think there's much anything else going on in here. So, yeah, it's not smoking or anything else, so I don't really know what else to do with it other than, yeah. Well, you know what? We'd probably be well off just to change the oil and run it again and see if we still lose oil or not. Because I've added, I don't know, I put what, 2 quarts in it, I think, since I've been messing with it, and we're down off the full mark again. But it's very watery, very drippy, not very good oil. So we're going to try fresh 30 weight and a fresh filter and see what that does. If that doesn't work, then we'll get into it and see what we come up with, because, you know, we might have a bad valve seal, or we might have a busted ring, or who knows. But anyway, like I say, it's not really smoking. The plugs that were in it, which of course I don't know if it ever ran on those plugs or not, didn't show any signs of oil leakage or anything. But yeah, basically I've got a lot of cleaning to do and a lot of parts to put back together and a lot of putting back together to do. So pretty much it. So I guess we'll say thanks for watching, and I'll be back later.